Hello, my sober lovelies. Before we dive in, I'm really excited to announce my group coaching program for women is live, and you can join now. So excited for this because let's be real here. Quitting drinking isn't just about saying no to the glass of wine or booze. It's about what comes after. All the fear, the boredom, the late night anxiety, and the stories you've been telling yourself for years. And that's where my Rewired Sober group coaching program for women comes in. It's only $247. I'm being totally transparent on the price. It's for 3 months, and you'll learn how to shift your mindset, build habits that actually stick, and question the core beliefs that have been keeping you stuck, and find healthier ways to deal with that loneliness and that now what feeling. The best part is you don't have to do it alone. We'll have live group coaching sessions weekly, and there'll be a bunch of women walking through it with you. It's not another cookie cutter sobriety program for mommy vloggers. It's neuroscience meets real life, and it's designed for women to help you not just stay sober, but actually feel good living sober. You can join anytime, and I'd love to see you on the inside. So start today, get instant access. The link's in the show notes. Welcome to Rewired Sober, the podcast where we unpack what it really takes to rewire your brain after alcohol. Hi, I'm your host, Kate Vitella, a registered nurse, board certified in mental health and addiction, sober since 2018, and a coach who blends neuroscience, lived experience, and real talk to help women break the shame spiral and rebuild their thinking with tools like journaling, humor, and honest conversation. This isn't surface level sobriety. This is where the healing gets deep, grounded, and unapologetically honest. So let's get into it. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Rewired Sober, the place where we believe you can fully rewire your brain, recover, restart, and reset. Today's guest I'm excited about is Kim Bellis, a friend of mine, founder of Sober is the New Cool. This is a global wellness and recovery movement. She launched the White Heart Initiative, a symbol of hope, reminding others they are seen, heard, and loved. Kim Bellis is the organizer of the International Recovery Walk and the annual White Party New York City, one of my faves, uniting communities in wellness worldwide. She's inspired by her son's medical journey, which she turned into a personal commitment and into an international mission, dedicated to ending the stigma around recovery and helping people rediscover their worth one heart at a time. Welcome, Kim.
Hi, Kate. I'm so glad to see you again.
Yeah, so good to see you. And I know this isn't on all video, but your backdrop, your room with your logo and the white wings and all of it is just, it's so you. It's so beautiful. I hope everyone in their life gets to have you on their podcast and to see this because you've been like a massive inspiration in the sober community. So I'm really grateful to have you here.
I'm honored, Kate. I'm truly honored to be here.
Yeah, so we were just talking about this at your white party in New York, how we met. And of course, we met through the internet, Sober Instagram. I think I have been following you, you've been following me. And then we've met officially in New York a few years ago at the Break Free show, right?
Yes.
That's what it
Yes.
was. So Kim and I walked for the Break Free Initiative, which is a fashion runway show, New York Fashion Week, dedicated to mental health and recovery. Our mutual friend, Alexandra Nyman, is the creative director and designer of a line, and she had us walking for her brand. So, of course, we're backstage getting hair and makeup, and it was such a fun experience. And then I just feel like you've always just been in my life. Like even though it was only a few years ago, I just feel like I've known you forever.
Well, that's the funny thing. I find that through everyone, like, when I met you, I had never walked in a runway. You had. You made me feel so comfortable right away because I was a nervous wreck, and I felt like I knew you, and I think that's the beauty. I think because I didn't feel judged, I felt like you got me as a person, you got my journey, so it was like I could be me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I wasn't a super experienced model, but I had certainly done the runway thing, and I understood, like, the jitters of the first time, and I always hope when I'm backstage with people, it's like, the bottom line is that we have fun
Yes.
because, you know, we're not we're not walking the international runways, we're not selling Vogue magazines, this isn't Gucci, we're just here to have fun. As much as I would like to think it's Gucci, but, yeah, and so I remember that show, and then from there, we have just stayed in touch, and,
Yeah.
you told a story this last year in New York, or not this last year, this a couple weeks ago, we were in New York together, and you told a story about losing your Instagram account. Will you
Yes.
retell that story? Because I had totally forgotten about that.
Well, that's actually how I really got very close to you because I was doing my thing quietly, and all of a sudden, someone who I knew quite well sent me a link saying, "Would you please, I'm up for an ambassadorship or something. So can you press this link and vote for me?" And, before I thought about it, I wasn't wearing my glasses. I just pressed the link, and sure enough, poof, my Instagram was stolen and gone. So probably about 5 or 6 years of work was just gone, and I was a maniac, and it took me about almost 2 months finally to get it back, which I was one of the lucky ones to get it back. But you were the first woman, I'm gonna cry, because you took, me from the bottom of where I was and introduced me to a panel of women and put me on a panel with all these magnificent women, Alexandra being one of them, Elise, the sober curator, and all these other women. And from there, it just blossomed into something that was even better than what I had. And I think that's where the true connection of this community, for me, anyways, was the biggest blessing of my life.
I love that. Yeah, and I had forgotten about that because it seemed like such a natural thing to do, and not to boast or anything, but it's like, "Of course, this happens, this sucks, I understand how it is to put all this effort into Instagram." The episode that dropped today was me just, like, unloading about I had been lost in the sauce in Instagram and just, like, so caught up in the likes and the follows but I know that, the sober curator, his Instagram got hacked around that time, and it was like,
Yes.
we all put so much effort and energy into this social media game, and so, yeah, it just felt like, "Okay, here's the thing, here's what we're gonna do next." And that's what we do in these communities is we introduce each other to other people who are doing the same work in the world and that can, extend our platform and or can just be our friend. Like, I think people
Yes.
forget that we just need like, I need friends. I'm
Yeah.
all about, like, meeting sober women because I have no agenda other than, like, I need a friend. And you seemed
Yeah.
cool, and I was like, "She seems like someone I would hang out with."
And I just found that whenever, from the first time I met you, after that, it was like, yeah, like she's exactly well, actually, you were better than I thought you were gonna be.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last episode I taped was all about perception and what people think of me on Instagram, and it just yeah, I mean, but that can be tough because here we are in the sober community, we're all working to, share the message and decrease stigma and to educate and to inspire, and yet it still gets messy
Yes.
and it still gets icky in weird ways. People become self-serving. They have weird agendas and, people aren't who they seem when you meet them in real life. I have
Yeah.
certainly experienced that where I have followed someone in the sober Instagram space
Yeah.
and then met them and been like, "Oh,
Yeah.
like they don't look at you, they don't really care about you, they don't like you, they don't talk to you." And it's like, "You're not even nice, dude. What
No.
is this?"
And I think that you being a coach also, you're one of the real coaches. There's too many that are phony out there that just want, and it's somebody's life you're playing with. It's somebody's life, and you're trying to make money from people at their weakest moment. And I really don't love that. And about you, you really are all in with women and you want them to succeed and you want the best for them. And I've seen you. I've seen you talk to women. I've seen what you do. And it's that's why I love you even more.
Oh, thank you. You're hired as my new advertising executive. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of coaches out there and a lot of people with not a lot of experience or
Yeah.
credentialing. You certainly can profit off of coaching from telling this horror story. I mean, I even saw an ad that said turn your mess into your marketing or some weird. I
Yeah.
mean, there's that, and that's gonna happen, and that's,
Yeah.
I have to try to just keep my eyes on, my side of the street and stay
Yes.
in my lane, but I have found the hard way that people don't care a whole lot about all the education and the credentials, and it's like if they vibe with you, then they're going that way, and there's a lot of misinformation out there, and that kinda sucks. But
Yeah.
just like any other specialty, we're gonna run into people who are super self-serving and ick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get on to your story. We were talking before we hit record, and gosh, I wish I would have just hit record. In your bio, you mention your son's story, your son's journey with a medical issue, and that prompted you as a mom to really look at your relationship with alcohol and kind of change the trajectory for your family. So I was hoping you kind of talk about that.
Well, so my son was 13 at the time, an avid football player. We were out 5 nights a week on the football field. Life was pretty great. And he was great at what he did until he started having grand mal seizures. So our life turned upside down. And then he was diagnosed with full on epilepsy. Sports were taken away. He couldn't even ride a bike because we were so afraid of when he would have the next seizure. And until his medicine got like fixed, we were like kind of, it was like a whirlwind. And so then the medicine got, working and we thought, okay. And he'd go out and he'd call me 30 minutes after he'd get home. And once I'd get home and I'd say, Matthew, why can't you stay out? And he goes, Mom, I don't fit in. Everybody drinks, everybody does drugs. It's just, that. So I said to him one night, I said, you don't need alcohol and drugs to have fun. And I had the biggest glass of wine in my hand and realized what a hypocrite I was. And I loved my son more than I loved myself. And I said, I will stop drinking for 3 months to show you, to prove to you that it can be, and I can have a great life and whatever. And sure enough, 3 months came and went. And he said, see, now you can be like everybody else, mommy. And I said, okay, I'll do another 3 months. And from there, I never looked back. And I was 12 years sober in January 12th of this year.
That's fantastic.
Mm.
And, we were talking before I hit record that you make it sound like you certainly didn't have a problem with alcohol and it was easy to quit. Just bye-bye forever, 12 years. My story is way different in that I held on to booze for dear life as long as I possibly could. And so I wanted you to kind of talk about your relationship with alcohol.
Well, for me, I didn't drink. No, I did drink every day, actually. I did drink wine every single day. Um, and sometimes more than others, but I was never alcohol had been a part of our family problem. So I was not oblivious to the problems of alcohol growing up. And I just realized that when I did stop for Matthew, all of a sudden I was very edgy. I didn't go anywhere for the first year. One, because he was sick, but two, because everywhere was Italian was red wine, sushi was rosé, a martini, whatever. And so I got hypnotized because I had done that for smoking and it had worked. And I figured, well, maybe it'll take the edge off. And for me, it did. And, I believe in hypnotherapy. I really do.
That's so fascinating because you're the first person to talk about hypnotherapy as a means to rewiring yourself into
Yeah.
sobriety. And so, will you talk about what that looked like? Like, you show up to a hypnotherapist, like, what do the appointments look like?
Well, so she just kind of talks to you. She's become a great friend of mine, believe it or not, because I've known her for 17 years now, and she just kind of talks to you. And what I thought were the issues with the drinking, or I was stopping for Matthew or whatever, she made me realize there was something inside that was missing, and that I was using the alcohol. There's liquid courage because I hated confrontation. Number one. And so when I would drink, all of a sudden I'd talk about something that happened 3 weeks ago, and I so out of left field. But she really just kind of listened to what I said, and then we went in this room, and I closed my eyes. I didn't even think I went under, to be honest with you. But whatever it was, it worked, and it's not like I never wanted that glass of wine or that martini or whatever again, but I just felt that the minute that I did, there was like this wave that would just kind of come over me, and I would do like a little twirl or something. And she put this into my brain that I needed to fill myself up with something else. So I think that that was like the trigger. Instead of going for the glass of wine, I triggered to either go for a walk or meditate dry, because I'm not great at that because I have no patience. But like she just rewired me, I think, to think of something other than that glass of wine or whatever else I was wanting.
That's fascinating because essentially what you described in the beginning is like a coaching session, right? She's listening to while you
Yeah.
in your words explain your problem and getting you to open up about where you're stuck, where your challenges are,
Mhm.
and then she's helping you reframe that. And now I don't know a lot about the science of hypnotherapy, but I do know that you get into a really relaxed state,
Yes. Yeah.
and people have a tendency to open up more and be more receptive to, I don't know, talk therapy, and you're kind of like laying those tracks in your brain. And you said she encouraged, like, replacing the drink with something else.
Yes, yes, and she did have a license in psychotherapy and psychology, and she had different things other than just hypnosis, but for me, I just really related with her, and she just made me feel comfortable, and I felt like I could be honest maybe for the first time, like, when you go to a doctor and they say, "Well, how many glasses of wine do you have a week?" I'd say, "Oh, 3," which was bullshit,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah.
And also when you're honest, like, and you hear yourself confess, you hear yourself say it out loud, it sort of changes the way that information is stored in your brain, and once you say it, it's like you can't go back, and so
Yeah.
I love that. You're the first person I've come across that has talked about that, so that's really fascinating. I need her information, I'd love to have her on the show because how
Oh,
cool
yeah.
would that be?
She is the coolest. You'll love her.
Oh, good,
Absolutely.
okay, that's exciting. So you had done that to quit smoking, and what was
Yeah.
that like for that habit then?
Well, I had done it like previously with other people for smoking, and it never really worked. So
Oh.
I don't know if it was her. I don't know if I was more open to quitting smoking. I don't know what it was, but I just was able to quit smoking from that moment. And it had been 5 years I had quit smoking before I quit drinking. And I just thought, okay, well, if it worked for that, why wouldn't it work for this? So I went to see her again, and everything just kind of fell into place.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I love as a mom that you took this as initiative to, like, sort of change the trajectory that your family was heading in. My stepson has epilepsy, and I know it's really scary when you watch a seizure happen. Even as a nurse, when I know that, he's gonna be safe, I know what to do, I know what to look for, I know the post-ictal period, and that, we're not calling 911 every seizure,
Yeah.
he's medicated. It's just the fact that you took initiative, we say as parents, like, more is caught than taught. So,
Yes.
you're telling your son that he can have fun without alcohol, and you catch yourself with a giant glass of wine in your hand. I mean, isn't that so how it is, like, parenting?
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I did say to him a few months into it, I said, Matthew, I'm sorry that you got sick, but because of this, I have gotten such a better life from this. I've reinvented myself. I'm so much better. And I'm hoping as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, I'll be a better person.
Yeah, reinvented yourself.
Yeah.
That is an epic statement. So in what ways have you reinvented yourself?
Well, I was 52 at the time. I did a lot of community work for like fundraising for cancer events. But I have to say that I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I would have way too many drinks before any event because I was so nervous all the time that everything was not going to be perfection. And so I used alcohol at those moments because I thought I needed it to be able to communicate. And I realized I'm so much better without alcohol than I was with it when to talk to people or just be me. And I guess I just never felt like I was good enough. I never thought I was slim enough, smart enough. The would have, should have, could have scenario was why wasn't I a doctor? Why wasn't I a lawyer? Why wasn't I, you know, I didn't seem to think I was enough just being me.
Yeah, same. Definitely. I struggle with the same thing. And it was such a trip to realize that sober, I'm so much stronger and more well spoken and like still funny and relevant and
Mhm.
cool, you know?
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, so speaking of cool, your brand is sober is the new cool. And you have merch all over. And I see like tons of people wearing it. You have merch sitting in front of me, a cup, a shirt. How did that come to fruition?
Well, that really was made for Matthew because he really did not want to discuss the fact that he couldn't drink. My sister created a logo. I got a trademark. I don't even know how this happened. I guess because my life was so upside down, and he would use me as when his friends would come over with the backpack, with the beer and the
Yeah.
little small bottles, and he'd say, "You can't do that here because my mom stopped for me." So I guess I used him, and he used me at the beginning to start this. And so I just wanted it to be because the first year I realized everywhere I went, Kate, everywhere, people would say to me, "Oh, you never had a problem with alcohol. Come have a drink with me in the corner. We won't tell." And I thought, wow, I made a promise to my son and people just don't get it. And I thought, here I am at 52 and I'm struggling in all these social and parties, weddings, funerals, wherever I was, backyard at somebody's house. And I thought, how's my 15-year-old, because he was 15 now, 2 years had passed basically. And I thought, how is he going to manage? How is he going to not drink? Because his medicine won't work. And so I decided I'm going to talk about this to everybody and anybody because I was so sick of the judgment. Because I think we are all recovering from something. We all have issues. And why should anybody be ashamed to get well? Like, because that's sobriety is just the tip of the iceberg. So this became, it was never supposed to be this. It was supposed to be for Matthew. And sure enough, the UK was the first gang of women that found me and just said, "Why are you talking about this? What are you doing? This, how did you stop?" And it just became like an open door of conversation.
Yeah, because 'cause you're in Canada, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Let's get that
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
that out there just because it's not that different, but there is a little bit of differences
Yes.
there.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Because
I
we
love
are behind in Canada, I have to say. We
what
are.
do you mean you're behind?
People are much more reserved here. They don't, when I had the international walk, let's say last year, I had over 30 countries walking virtually with Sober is the New Cool for International Recovery Day. And in Canada, people are so afraid of what the neighbor's going to say. Um, you know, so I kind of
Wow.
tried to do it like we're all recovering from something. Why this is about wellness. sobriety is the tip of the iceberg to really destigmatize this thing. And then I just realized, I'm going to try any single way, every possible way to get people to realize just do it. Just, you've got nothing to lose. Just try it
Yeah. Can you
and
buy
walk for your
alcohol?
sister or walk for your mother. Say you're walking for somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, nobody needs to know if you're not ready to share either.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, can you buy alcohol in Canada, like, in a grocery store?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so it's as ubiquitous as okay.
Yes.
And I hear that, like, it's funny you said you your son uses you as an excuse and you use him because
Yeah.
my husband will talk to my stepson about marijuana, and he'll say, "This is a sober house. We are sober." And use my I was, your textbook classic person who drank daily and really struggled with alcohol. Call me an alcoholic. I don't really care what you call me, but you know, so to respect, I'm in recovery, my husband's in recovery, we are a sober house now. So, and if you need to use that as an excuse why your friends can't bring drugs and booze over here, go for it. I'll be
Yeah.
the devil. I'll be whatever you want me. I don't care,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I think, you know, one of the biggest problems I had was the professionals here, because in Canada, after 14, your parents don't have to be in the room with you with a doctor. My son allowed me in the room with him. I was lucky. But they all said, you can smoke marijuana, you can have alcohol. Um, and I said, "He what?" And they said, "Well, he can have 1 or 2 drinks." And I said, "What teenager do you know can have 1 or 2 drinks?" So the whole professional field, when I was this was over 12 years ago also, they weren't talking about it like they're talking about it now. So it was hard. It was very hard to manage.
Yeah. Let's talk about the stigma a little bit.
Yeah.
When you said you feel like the neighbors don't want to be
Yeah.
seen walking, and
Yeah.
what do you think is behind all that stigma? I mean, I have my own ideas, but stigma is something I haven't really talked about in a while because I think the farther we get enmeshed into the sober community, I don't know about you, but all my friends are sober and my
Yes.
life is sober. I'm not as close to the stigma anymore as I used to be. It used to be like right in front and center in my life. And now it's like everyone's sober. That's what it feels like. I have a protective bubble around me.
Well, I have to say, I think it's changing because my older son is 30 and he barely drinks because he's into the wellness, workout, whatever. But I think the whole concept, I think here and a lot of other places is that white picket fence, right? The white picket fence with the flowers are perfect and everything, and nobody wants anyone to know that maybe there's an issue. Well, 9 times out of 10, I know, at least in my house, I was talking too loud outside if I'd been drinking. So most of my neighbors probably knew I had had too many glasses of wine. So that part is what I feel is so funny because most people know what's going on anyways. So instead of, embracing it and trying to create a better house, a better way, a better, you know, you just talk about it like you're talking about the sunshine. So it's not a big deal. And I think that's what I love the most about when we all get together. It doesn't matter if somebody says I was Xanax and vodka or what. It's like we're talking about the sun.
Yeah.
Nobody judges, and I think that that's what people have to realize, that this stigma is still there, but it is going away. And people are into wellness and people are embracing, walking more, trying to be healthier. And, to be honest with you, if people are judging you because you don't want to drink, maybe they are the ones that have the problem.
Yeah. It's funny because you said, we all want that white picket fence, the image. And but the sober community, I don't know about you, but when someone is around me and they're trying to pretend they have it all together and really kind of play off their drinking, I know, right? I mean, like you just know because you've been there, and
Yeah.
I can smell it a mile away, no pun intended. Like, and in my head, it's like, well, eventually you're probably gonna have to get sober. 'Cause I just know how this goes. Like, I hate being right about this, but this is the way the cookie crumbles. You can only beat your body up for so long,
Yeah.
right? You're gonna hit that wall, and so eventually most people who talk about drinking around me, they come around and they end up
Yeah.
coming to me later saying, "Okay, maybe I'm gonna cut back and maybe I'm gonna substitute some non-alcoholic drinks," and
Yeah.
so I guess, yeah, I am a little removed from the stigma because I have this wonderful sober bubble around me. And much like you do, you and I have a lot of friends in the sober
Yes.
community.
Yes. Yes.
So I wanted to talk with you about that because your party a few weeks ago in Manhattan was fantastic. And we laughed so hard, like
Yeah.
all of us. We were like roaring.
And I have to say that was the 3rd one, and it just seems to get better every single year. I don't know, it's not always the same women, it's women from all over the United States, some Canadians showed up this year. Um, it's just like it doesn't matter who sits beside who, it's an instant connection and bonds are formed, and everybody I remember this one especially I thought was probably the best only because there were so many flight delays. People were late from traffic. So I got time to actually sit and talk to every single person that was there. But I had the chance to kind of sit back and watch, and everybody was smiling when they were talking to whoever they were sitting with. And I thought, or sharing something so personal or so a moment in their life that they needed somebody there at that moment. And you just saw somebody put their hand on somebody's hand. And I just thought, wow, we are just the luckiest because there's no garbage, there's no pretense. Everybody is just 100% authentic, I think.
Yeah, I sat down with 3 women I'd never met in my life.
Yes.
I
Oh,
can't even say as if I'd seen them on the internet, where I was seated at the table, and it was instant conversation
yes.
and laughing, and I consider them friends, and now we've
Yes.
connected on social media, and because there's no bullshit. There's
Yes.
no we're gonna cut through all that. We're not only that, we're gonna remember the whole entire conversation.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
we're there to be honest and to be friends, and it just was yeah, instant laughter, of course, because we love to laugh about, like, the stupid shit we used to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? I used to get together with women, and it was like, "You did your performance, I did mine," right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then we drank, and as we got drunker and drunker, we got sloppier, and we ended up crying.
Mm.
And that's so different, like, my friendships now are so different.
And, the other thing too, at that restaurant, I've had it at the same place 2 years in a row. And before it started, I had people that were sitting in the restaurant that came to see what it was all about. I had one of the managers at the restaurant that is now a year and a half sober that didn't realize it was a sober party last year. And it's just amazing how many women or people in that restaurant that evening came to see why we were having so much fun. And most of them knew somebody that was sober or had just become sober or had some sort of story about it. And it's wonderful to just be able to, and I think that's why I wear this stuff now because I feel that it's the younger people that come and ask me with my shopping bag that says, because there's no plastic bags in Canada anymore. I don't know if it's the same in the US. So I have a huge shopping bag and it's written, and 9 times out of 10, it's always a young person between, 25 and 45 that'll say, "What's that? What is this about?" And in New York City, when I was wearing my stuff, people just smile at me on the street like, "Okay," And isn't that nice? Isn't that a nice switch?
Yeah, when I wear the T-shirts, the sober is the new T-shirts that you send, the sober is written so big and bold and, in
Yeah,
white, and it's one of my favorite shirts. It's, like, so well made and it fits really well, and when I wear it, I get so many reactions because
yeah,
it's like, "We are holding nothing back. Here we are,"
yeah,
and but it's a clean shirt and it's a nice fit, it's classy, And yeah, I get a lot of
You make it so fashionable the way you do it. I
oh, thank
cannot
you.
stand it. It's absolutely fantastic.
I love it. Yeah, I remember when we were at that restaurant, somebody wanted to take our photo. What was that
Yes.
about? I
Well,
felt like we
that
were on a magazine cover for a minute there.
well, no, actually, there was 2 people. One, it was a woman that her daughter had just been celebrated at Berkeley because she was 15 years sober that same night, and her daughter wanted to have a picture of us all because she couldn't believe from where she came from and being celebrated for all her achievements from where she had come. She just felt that there was some kind of sync that night with her mother being in a restaurant and couldn't be with her and whatever. And then the people at the restaurant just said, could we please, they've got a professional photographer to come in and take a picture because they wanted to make sure that people knew that their restaurant now was a safe space, and they now have non-alcoholic beverages. Last year, they just had mocktails. Now they had some wine and some, non-alcoholic other choices, which is great too, especially
Yeah.
in a place like New York City. Why not?
Yeah, we were in Times Square even, like,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, tourist trap,
Yes.
there were tons of people around.
Yeah.
And I did notice that I was in New York for about a week, and I noticed a lot of places had mocktails and
Yeah.
non-alcoholic wine and beer on the menu. Did you notice that too?
Yes, more so this year than previous. But I still feel that it's still lacking. I still feel that there should be more choices, you know? And there was a few places where I forget the following day when we did a walk in Central Park, because we always do that the next day after the white party. And people had gone to lunch or were going places and they were having trouble finding places that had other things than just mocktails because not everybody likes that sugary
Yes.
mocktail thing. Yeah.
I was in, I can't remember, it's over close to Little Italy, Lower East Side area-ish, and I stumbled into Spirited Away, the non-alcoholic bottle shop in New York, and of course, me being, me, I'm talking to the girl in the store. I was talking to her forever, and she was saying, like, the vibe now in New York is that people are still drinking, yes, but that people will go out for 1 or 2
Yes.
regular, fully loaded alcoholic drinks and then stop and
Yeah.
switch to non-alcoholic
Yeah.
because of, they wanna be productive the next day. Like,
Yes.
they don't
Exactly.
want the hangover, and I thought,
Yeah.
"Wow, I did not know that." I didn't know that people were kinda going halvesies.
Yeah, and it's too bad because Prima Pave had actually sent a bunch of non-alcoholic beverages for wines and bubbly sparkling wines, but unfortunately, that restaurant didn't carry it, so we gave it away as gifts.
Yeah,
Um, but the women that did try it loved it, and that I find is not available enough. Those kind of and there's a bunch now that are not sweet and really are great alternatives, like you say, to anybody, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that restaurants are offering these options on the menu knowing that a consumer will probably switch at some point,
Yes.
but they wanna stay out. She said people wanna stay out in the New York nightlife. They don't wanna leave the party, but they want to, maintain some level of sanity and not feel like shit the next day. And I was
Ah,
like,
never mind, Kate. Still look great. I mean,
yeah.
that to me is part of it also is, from when, I look at past pictures from the beginning to the end of the night, I didn't look quite so glamorous anymore, you know?
I know, right? That's your nice way of saying it. We look like trash.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. In the beginning, I would love the ritual of getting ready with a
Yes.
drink and
Oh,
going out, and I always felt so glamorous. But midway through the night to have it was so bad. And I
mm.
look back at photos and I'm like, "Gross. That's disgusting." Like, eyeliner everywhere, eyelashes,
And my
sweat.
eyes, just
Yeah.
that ugh.
I had giant bags under my eyes. I was just in this haze, and so what a better existence it is now,
Oh
to
my god, and never missing another memory is to me, I I can go anywhere. I remember table settings. I remember the first time I went to a wedding and I was sober. I remember that wedding of 20 years ago or of 12 years ago, like it was yesterday, from the people to just the event, to everything. It just so clear, crystal clear in my mind. And life is short, and I don't want to miss any more memories. I just don't.
Yeah. I remember us sitting at that diner before we went to go see
Yes,
the billboard in Times Square,
yes,
laughing so hard, and we're wearing, like, 8 piles of clothes because it was February
mhm,
and freezing cold. I mean, oh my gosh, I love those moments, and,
yeah,
those are things I cherish, and, yeah, my memory is crystal clear,
yeah.
and
And
I think that is one of the biggest gifts of sobriety.
I think so. For me, I think that's what keeps me going and keeps, every time, because there are moments where summertime or Christmas there's moments where I get that, somebody has my favorite champagne out or favorite whatever. And I think, oh, wouldn't that be? And then I go, no, 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 come on, go back, like I do that little turnaround and that's it. But it's, that's the moments that I don't wanna lose because life is short and today is a gift. It really is.
Absolutely. So what are you working on now? I mean, you're always working on something.
Well, I think the biggest thing I do now this is a bigger version of what I send out, but I have this little white heart initiative because I wanted people to know, um, I started giving out white hearts at one point. It was sometimes with the merchandise I gave, or when I would meet somebody for some reason, I would feel a connection and I would just place this little white heart in their hand if I didn't know what to say. And then when I just met people that I really liked, I just started giving them this little white heart and saying, you are seen, loved, and heard. And if ever you have a moment where you're sad or whatever, just remember I'll be thinking of you. And I started it actually with my natty. We did a tattoo. She's from London, England. She was the daughter I never had. I lost her last year, unfortunately. But for 8 years, she was in my life. And she was the first person I gave the white heart to because it was to get her through moments when she wanted alcohol. It was like even though she was in the UK and I was here, we would speak every single day and we would just hold on to that white heart. And just some way she said, I think you should give it to other people too. And so it just started like that. And it's really become sometimes I'll just give it to somebody. I was in the airport and I gave it to the woman that was helping me with my ticket. And her friend came to see me at the gate and she said, you're not going to believe this. Her mother passed away during her shift, and you gave her the heart just as she had heard the news. She felt like her mother was with her. I can't make this stuff up. So there's something so much bigger about this White Heart initiative. So I really, people can donate towards it. We can give it out. I can send it to them if they need it, or to someone that they wish. And in the meantime, I was lucky enough with the grab bags. I had 5 women that gave beautiful gifts for the grab bags and donated money towards the White Heart Initiative. So it allows me to send things around the world when I feel, and it's not necessarily just about alcohol. It could be about mental health. It could be about a young woman that's struggling or a relationship that's gone and they've just reached out to me. Don't ask me. It's just a thing now that's happening and I love it. And my last trip to New York, they stopped me at customs and they said, "Oh my God, you've got stuff in your pockets." I said, "Oh, geez, so sorry, right?" And they said, "You have to empty." And I had all these little white hearts. And they
Yeah,
just
yeah.
burst out into laughter. They said, "We've seen it all."
Yeah.
And then the woman said to me, "Can I have one?"
Oh.
And I said, "Of course you can." So I guess it's just a way of people feeling like somebody really cares about them?
Yeah, wow.
Mm.
I love that you just kinda go around spreading joy and white hearts, no agenda, but there is some kind of universal connection. It seems like you're giving them to people at the time they really need
Yes.
something they can tangible they can hold on to. So that
Yeah.
is it's freaking beautiful. I just love you.
And listen, it's something bigger than me because I'm not that, people used to say, how did somebody find you? Or how do you know that I needed you today? And I think it's something that just comes and says, okay, and I'm Catholic and everything, but I'm not the biggest churchgoer. So I do believe there's something that's so much bigger than me and every time I want to give up, Kate, like when I lost my sweet Natty, I thought, that's it, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Somehow something happens that makes me want to go on. So it's
Yeah.
bigger than me. It's not about me. It's bigger than who I
Yeah.
am.
I feel the same way. It's bigger than me when
Yeah.
it comes to coaching and even running this podcast, and will I know the right thing to say at the right time? Always, because it's not about me. I
No.
know this is bigger than me. I can feel it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, where can people find you if they wanna connect with you on socials?
Well, I think the best place is because I am a one woman show. I do have ambassadors all over the world, but it's too hard. So basically on Instagram, that's sober dot is dot the dot new dot cool is the best place because I've taken off the white heart that used to be there automatically, so I don't miss messages anymore. I do have another account, but that's like just the backup from when I got hacked. So it's best at sober is the new cool, whether on Instagram or Facebook. But Instagram is where I make sure to answer every person that reaches out.
Yeah, you're really good about responding. Thank you so much for coming on. I will put your link in the show notes. You're just like this angel. I'm so glad that you've come into my life. You feel like such a good friend to me, and it's so cool. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Well, thank you, Kate, and thank you for being so great with so many because I think it truly is such a gift that you're giving somebody um, to be there and be present and to be honest and to really want to help them. So thank you for that because the world needs more of you.
Thank you. Okay, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We're going to cut it off there. Hope you have a good day. Thanks for tuning in to Rewired Sober. You can find me on my Instagram at Rewired Sober, where there are links to catch up with me and all the things I'm working on in my coaching business, or the link tree to my business directly will be in the show notes. I so appreciate you joining me on this journey, and I welcome any feedback or any topics you want to hear about, things that you're struggling with or interested in. I love you all so very much, and I'm just so enjoying doing this with you.